Hi everyone, welcome back to Linger Longer with Books. My name's Catherine, and in this week's video I'm going to take you along with me to an author talk featuring Steve Cavanagh. That only took me about 15 minutes to get here, a little bit slower than usual actually because of roadworks, but I'm going to head in now to get a decent seat. Hopefully it's probably sold out because Steve is hugely popular. But yeah, just a short walk through the shopping complex, and I'll be there. So I shall try and get some footage inside if possible, and some photos. Photos are a little bit easier to get, aren't they, in quite an intimate kind of live event. So yeah, I shall share my thoughts with you a little later on. It's another day. I just thought that I would benefit from a kind of a fresh head whilst I talk to you about how Steve's talk went on Thursday evening. I had a lovely time. It's always a real pleasure seeing Steve speak about his books and how he approaches his writing. I was just thinking before I started recording, how many times have I seen Steve speak? And I have seen him speak at Capital Crime Festival outdoors. I think that was one time. Then there was an indoor Capital Crime venue at St Paul's in London. That's the second time. I've seen him definitely speak at Waterstones in Basingstoke for one of the book tours. And I've seen him speak at Waterstones in West Quay, that's in Southampton, and now this week at Whiteley. So I count that's 5 times. And I know that kind of makes me sound like a bit of a stalker, or so some of my family would sort of classify me as that. But honestly, I'm not. I'm just a fan of Steve's. It was great to hear him talk about Two Kinds of Stranger. I'm always just fascinated the fact that Steve doesn't plan before he writes. He obviously has an idea in his head and he just writes, and I find that really like remarkable and interesting and very, very kind of special writing skills, I would say. But yeah, Steve, what was Steve speaking about? He was obviously speaking a little bit about this. He was saying about how he often gets kind of he has historical kind of figures, lawyer figures, historical figures in his mind, and kind of takes inspiration to kind of varying degrees from those important kind of legal scholars and people. But he was essentially saying that he could see the similarities between his previous career as a lawyer in Northern Ireland with con men and tricksters, and obviously those who have read his books will know Eddie Flynn kind of ticks a lot of those boxes and is incredibly intriguing, complex, really multi-layered, takes you with him through each story that he features in terms of Eddie. You really rally for Eddie. You're right sort of alongside him with his kind of gang of characters around him. Again, I was trying to count the amount of the total number of novels that Steve has published, and I make it 11 in total. You can't quite see them all on shot there, but I have read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the 11 so far. This would be my 7th. I've read 13. Incredible. I need to find another word to incredible. Really gripping. It's about when a killer is on the jury and manipulates his way onto the jury. 50-50, that's about 2 sisters, each accusing one another of their father's murder. And then you've got ones that I've read: The Devil's Advocate, The Accomplice, Kill for Me, Kill for You, and Witness 8. And what Steve does so well with his novels is he kind of takes a a really kind of engaging, plausible kind of situation or scenario or conundrum, and it really sort of makes you think, well, what would I do in the character's shoes? And that's why you're so gripped with the plot as it zips along with its twists and turns, because none of the scenarios are kind of out of the realms of possibility. They're very much rooted in reality, and something I think that a situation that could chime with any of us. I think in Kill for Me, Kill for You, you've got two women who meet, and they've both got sort of devastating kind of circumstances where they've suffered awful loss, and they kind of club together. They agree this kind of verbal pact that they're going to help kind of right the wrongs that have been done to them, which are devastating and have massive impacts on the rest of their lives. So that's I highly recommend all of Steve's novels, but I think my favourites in particular are 13, 50/50, and there's one called The Devil's Advocate, which is set in the southern states of America, and just has a really, really horrible character in it that you just love to hate. And I think that is a perfect draw of a character that you are completely invested in them, whether it's love or hate or something in between. But yeah, let's have a look at Two Kinds of Stranger. So Two Kinds of Stranger, this has just come out here in the UK. I can't wait to get to it. I had pre-ordered a copy, which I have got here, which I started reading when I was sat in the audience, didn't I? Because just following suit with several other people in the audience. So I've got my copy here, but what I didn't realise is the Waterstones ticket came with a copy of the book as well. So this one is going to wing its way to my mum, because I have got many of my friends and family into reading Steve Cavanagh over the years, and none of them have been disappointed. I've bought colleagues copies of Steve's earlier books. I have found copies in charity shops to give to one of my best friends, and I have been quite a big champion of Steve's. But anyway, I have two copies, so yeah, this will be heading to my mum for her to enjoy, so I look forward to hearing what she says. But if you haven't heard of this quite yet, what is it all about? This particular story, it says, would you help a stranger? Ellie Parker had everything: perfect husband, perfect apartment, perfect friends, and the perfect job. As an internet celebrity famed for her random acts of kindness, everyone knew it. So when a betrayal causes her to lose it all, millions of people are watching. Oh God, that'd be awful, wouldn't it? Ugh. But even at her lowest, Ellie will always help someone in need, which makes her the perfect target for a sadistic game. Because as she soon learns, you can never trust a stranger, and a seemingly random encounter plunges her into a nightmare worse than she ever imagined. Oh, this is, in the best way. The only person she can turn to is conman turned trial lawyer Eddie Flynn, who must take on a case where nothing is what it seems. With the most cruelly ingenious, mind-manipulating events from the shadows, everyone is in danger, even Eddie's family. That sounds brilliant. I think with Eddie, he does find himself in impossible situations throughout all of the books he's in, and you think, oh crikey, how can he outmaneuver, outwit, outskill, especially in the courtroom setting? But somehow he always does, and that is down to the genius of Steve's writing. That kind of Eddie is in these kind of tricky, uncomfortable, just mind-boggling environments, and kind of really tense moments, and that it kind of gets flips on its head, and it kind of gets resolved, or it sort of twists you in a different direction. But I can't wait to read this one. I'm currently needing to finish Murder Road by Simone St. James. That's a library copy, so I am on a deadline for that one. But I will be getting to this one next. But yeah, I shall wrap it up there. I'm not going to spend too long rambling. But yeah, if you are a Steve fan out there like me, please let me know in the comments. Kind of, have you got a favourite of Steve's novels? Not all of them are Eddie Flynn. Not all of them feature Eddie. there are a couple of standalones. One interesting nugget, if you haven't seen Steve speak kind of in person or online or anything like that, is that he did reveal that Eddie Flynn was not originally called Eddie Flynn. He had him jotted down as Eddie Brown, but somehow got to Flynn as I think it has got sort of Irish roots, and it was on his list of potential last names as well as his publishers. So Eddie Brown went to Eddie Flynn. But yeah, let me know. Have you got a favourite Eddie story? What do you think about the sort of standalones? I totally get the reason why Steve. Well, I appreciate the reason why Steve did a standalone. There was one called Twisted, where someone in the audience was asking about Twisted. Haven't read this one yet, as I mentioned earlier. But basically, Steve was saying he'd written the first few books. They hadn't done amazingly well. He wasn't sure if they would sell well enough in readers' terms to continue writing. So he tried something different, and he did a standalone, which is where Twisted came from. And he was just explaining a little bit about how it says Twisted by Steve Cavanagh, and on the inside it's Twisted by J.T. LeBeau. So yeah, quite an interesting technique of writing in this novel. And I will be getting to it at some point. But yeah, let me know, are you sort of a loyal Eddie fan? I personally don't mind the fact that there's a run of Eddies and then there's some standalone ones. I think it's quite interesting when an author does that. They can sort of step away for a moment to write a different book, sort of a bit of a gear shift, and then obviously come back to their main character and that main character energy. I think this is Eddie number 9. I'm sure that's what Steve said in the talk. But yeah, Steve always has great little nuggets that he throws out into his conversations when he's being interviewed. And this time around, I learnt that in America, coffins, caskets, as they're called, are incredibly heavy. And I think there is a rule or some sort of stipulation in some states, if not all states, that you have to have a secret compartment in a part of the casket that if you can break it open, it actually reveals the person's date of birth, date of death, and something else as well. And the fact that if you're in New Orleans, you can't be buried underground because of all the flood risks and water kind of movements. You are buried in kind of tombs and I can't think of the proper word, but stone kind of tombs above ground. So yeah, that was really interesting in a sort of morbid way, but there we go. I'm going to stop rambling. I hope you're all doing really, really well. I hope you have got some time set aside for the week ahead for reading, whether that's paperback, audiobook or hardback. And as usual, thank you for watching this far into the video. I'd love to know who's out there watching. So I will do my emoji call out for the loyal viewers out there. And I think in honour of Two Kinds of Stranger, I'm going to ask you to pop in the chat the wave emoji, because that seems quite a friendly thing. We all obviously encounter strangers every day of our lives. We don't know anything about them. Some strangers become colleagues, some strangers become friends, don't they? Some strangers will ultimately become our partners. Who knows? That's just the tapestry of life. But I think a wave is always a nice kind of warm invitation to engage with someone else. Although in Ellie's situation, not so good, not so healthy. Sounds like it's going to be disaster led. So there we go. But anyway, I'll sign off. But until next time, take care. My videos usually crop up every Monday at 6 p.m. GMT, although this one is going out as a bonus video on Saturday. So yes, watch out for this one. Let me know what you think. And please, if you're a Steve fan, pass this video on so other Steve fans can spot it too. Okay, take care, see you later, bye.